Have you ever wondered why JavaScript sometimes feels a little unpredictable? Like maybe you meant to add two numbers, but instead you got a weird string result. Or maybe a function crashed because someone passed the wrong kind of data. Well, that is exactly the problem TypeScript was made to solve. In this episode, we are talking about one of the most important features of TypeScript, the type annotations and basic types. You will see how just by adding simple type labels like string, number, or boolean, you can make your code more reliable, readable, and bug free before it even runs. By the end of this lesson, you will not only understand how TypeScript handles data, you will also start thinking like a TypeScript developer. All right, let us dive in and see how types make our code smarter. Before we jump into code, let us take a step back and talk about what a type actually is. A type simply tells the computer what kind of data a variable holds. For example, is it a number, a string, or a boolean, or something else? And why does that matter? Because it helps prevent mistakes, like trying to mix incompatible values. You would not want to add a number and a cat, right? Types make sure that kind of nonsense doesn't happen in your code. In other words, types give your code structure and meaning. They help your editor and the TypeScript compiler catch errors before your program ever runs. So when we say TypeScript is a type language, what we really mean is it is constantly watching your back while you code. So now that we understand what types are, let us talk about how we actually use them in our code with something called a type annotation. A type annotation is just a way of telling TypeScript exactly what kind of value a variable or function should have. Think of it like putting a label on a box. You're telling TypeScript, hey, this box only holds strings, or this one is for numbers only. That way, if you accidentally try to put the wrong thing inside, TypeScript immediately stops you before your program even runs. For example, if you write let username string equals to Alice, we are saying the variable username can only ever hold text. If we try to assign a number later, TypeScript will flag it as an error. So, in short, type annotations make your code more predictable, self documenting, and safe from silly mistakes. Alright, let us talk about the building blocks of TypeScript, the basic types. These are the most common kinds of data you will use, and TypeScript makes it easy to work with them safely. First, we have string, that is for text data, like names, messages, or anything inside quotes. Then there's number, used for both whole numbers and decimals. Unlike some languages, TypeScript doesn't separate integers and floats, it is just number. Next is Boolean. This one is simple. It is either true or false, perfect for conditions, flags, and logic checks. Now let's talk about any type. This one can accept any type number, string, object, you name it. Sounds flexible, right? But it's actually a bit risky because it removes TypeScript's safety net. So it is best to avoid using any unless you really need it, and we will talk about this more later. Finally, we also have what we call unknown. It is kind of like any, but safer. You can store any value in it, but before using it, you have to check what type it actually is. Think of it as TypeScript saying, I will let you store it, but you better make sure what it is before you use it in your code. These basic types are your foundation. Once you get comfortable with them, and you will be able to write cleaner, safer, and much more predictable code. Now let's take a closer look at one of the most controversial types in TypeScript, the any type. When you use any, you're basically telling TypeScript, don't worry about checking this one, I got it. That means type checking is completely turned off for that variable. You can assign anything to it, a number, string, an array, even a function, and TypeScript won't complain. So yes, the any keyword can be useful temporarily, especially when you're working with legacy JavaScript code or a value you're not sure about yet. But here's the catch. Using any keyword too often defeats the purpose of TypeScript. It can easily lead to bugs that TypeScript would normally catch for you. So, the best advice, use any like a band aid, fine for a short fix, but not something you want to rely on permanently. Now that we have seen how flexible and risky the any type can be, let's talk about a much safer option, which is the unknown type. The unknown type is kind of like the responsible cousin of any. It still allows you to store any kind of value, a number, a string, an object, but there's one big difference, and that is you cannot use it until you check what it is. That is what makes unknown safer than any. It forces you to be explicit and careful, which keeps your code predictable and bug free. So, whenever you're not sure what kind of data you're dealing with, reach for unknown. It is TypeScript's way of saying, let us double check before we do anything crazy, right? So, in order for us to apply this on our code, let's have a quick demo. Let's create here, let's say, quick chain ts2.ts. So, let's have here the basic types in TypeScript. So, we will do now the basic types. Let's say, let, in order for us to start a variable name, let's have your message. Let's have a colon here. And we need to declare the type, which we will declare string equal to, and we will declare a string here, let's say welcome to TypeScript. Now, let's have another for number. We will name the variable total, and let's have number data type here, and let's have here equal to 99.5. Let's have another variable, let's say let is active, and we will declare it as boolean, and we will declare it as true. Okay, now let's say anything. This is for any, and let's have here hello. Now let's have a console here so we can able to display these things. Let's say for example, we will display total, and we will also display is active, and we need to compile this tsc quick chain ts2.ts, and it will create the JavaScript code, and then we need to put here node quick chain ts2.js, and we have here 99 and 5. Now, let us have an experiment here. Let's try to change the value of total. And you can change this by calling the variable and put equal. And let's say we will change this to string like cat. And you will notice there will be an error here. Type string is not assignable to type number. Also for is active, let's say for example is active equals to, let's say number, let's say 100, and the same error will come. Type number is not assignable to type boolean. So that's how TypeScript is protecting you on bugs and errors by securing your data type on each variable you declare. Now, in the any type, this is something different. Let's have here, let's change this to anything to make it grammatically correct. And let's try to change from string, let's make this a number, let's say 100. And you will notice there is no error being shown here. Let's try to display this console.log anything, and let us see if it will update to number. Let's have here again tsc, then let's have again our node, and we have here 100. So we have changed the anything from string going to a number. So it opts the function of the TypeScript to secure our variable based on the supposed data type that we will declare. Now let us try for the unknown. Let's have here let unknown, and let's have here the unknown keyword, and let's have this is unknown. And then if you try to console.log this would still be acceptable. However, you cannot do some operations on this variable like converting it to uppercase. Let's say for example unknown dot to uppercase, which is supposedly would make this data on this variable to become an uppercase. However, there's an error. Unknown is of type unknown. So in order for you to do this inside your variable that is set as unknown, you need first to check the data type. Let's have an if condition. If you're new to programming, this is just a way to validate a data or to set a certain condition inside your code. So let's have, for example, if type of. So you're checking what is the data type of your variable. So we need to declare unknown here is equal to. And let's say, for example, we are detecting if this is a string. Let's have curly bracket and then let's put it inside. And you will notice there's no error anymore because we have already checked what kind of data, or we have ensured the kind of data that it is. Because this is a string, the type of unknown is a string, therefore you can do the operation like to uppercase, because this kind of functionality is just available for string data. So let's try to display this. ESC, then let's have the node, and you have here this is unknown, and all of them are in uppercase. Thank you for watching Quick Chain Lessons by Chain Academy. If you want to access our courses, please visit our website at www.chain-academy.io.